So as we all know, the Golden State Warriors at one point were one of the best teams in the NBA. But what if I told you they could have made one move that would have changed everything? How's everybody doing today? It's Horstall back with another video. Today I'm going to talk about the Golden State Warriors and one move that they could have made that would have changed everything. Before I start though, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell and leave a like on this video. But without further ado, let's get into it. Now let's go back to the year 2010. A lot happened that year. LeBron James would win his second MVP in a row. The Lakers would win the NBA Finals, and that would be the last year they would win with Kobe Bryant. But there was also the NBA Draft. Let's go back to June 24th, 2010, the day the NBA Draft occurred. The 2010 NBA Draft featured a lot of stars that we know today, such as John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Gordon Hayward, but the biggest one out of all of them, Paul George. When Paul George played his first few years in Indiana, he looked like a player who could have been a top 5 player in the NBA. The fact that he was 22 years old and carried the Indiana Pacers, who without George, they weren't much, was crazy. To sum it up with one short sentence, Paul George was insane. But all of that could have changed on draft day. Let's go to the 6th pick of the NBA Draft, which belonged to the Golden State Warriors, who just came off having one of the worst records in the league. And this was back when Monte Ellis was relevant in the league and he was a leader. The Warriors would end up selecting Ekpe Udoh, and let's just say Udoh never turned out to be a star. And he wouldn't even last 2 years with the Warriors until he went to the Toronto Raptors. But what if instead of drafting Ekpe Udoh, the Warriors decided to do this?
With the 6th pick in the 2010 NBA Draft, the Golden State Warriors select Paul George of Fresno State University.
Paul George from Fresno State.
Now, first off, I just want to point out that Klay Thompson wasn't drafted yet, which would mean that the big three in 2010 for the Warriors would have been a young Stephen Curry, a prime Monte Ellis, and a young Paul George. That team would probably not do much because Curry and George were still young. We all know what would happen in 2011. The Warriors would draft Klay Thompson. Then this is where stuff gets really, really interesting. Now, in that decade, the Warriors would make the playoffs 7 times and win the NBA Finals 3 times. But let's go to the times the Warriors got eliminated, starting off in the 2012-13 season. Now, that season, the Warriors got past the Denver Nuggets, but would get eliminated against the San Antonio Spurs. Let's take a look at how Steph, Klay, and George did. Now, there's not much to say. Steph Curry would be injured for most of the season, Klay Thompson was still a rookie, and Paul George was doing the same thing Steph and Klay were doing, getting used to the NBA. Now, do I think the Warriors would have won the finals that year? No. And I don't think they would have even made the conference finals, because that team was not capable of doing that. Now the next season was better because every player got better. Stephen Curry would have his first season averaging 20 points a game, Paul George was slowly getting into the rhythm of playing good basketball, and same thing with Klay Thompson. That season, the Warriors would lose in the first round against the Los Angeles Clippers. But could Paul George have made a difference? Yes. Here's why. First off, the Warriors would lose to the Clippers in Game 7. That game, Curry would drop 33 points. Klay Thompson had 15, and Draymond Green had 24. Yet, they still lost by 5 points. But I think if Paul George was out there, he would have definitely made a difference. He would have helped the Warriors win the Game 7 and move on. But I don't think they would have gone any further, because they were still not capable of doing that. Now, the next season, we all know what happened. The Golden State Warriors would win the NBA Finals, so we don't really have to worry about that year. But the 2015-16 year is where stuff gets wild. First off, that season would be the best year of Stephen Curry's NBA career. Klay Thompson would have a dominant season, and Paul George would have a great comeback after his awful injury. The first thing that would change if Paul George played on the Warriors that season would be that the Warriors would have a better record. There's no way they wouldn't. They would have been way more unstoppable and would make the record of winning the most games in a season a lot harder to beat. Next up, just looking at their starting 5. Imagine having an MVP Steph Curry at point guard. At shooting guard, you have Klay Thompson. At small forward, a healthy Paul George. Power forward, Draymond Green. And Andrew Bogut. That lineup would be unstoppable. Now, we all know what would happen in the playoffs. The Warriors would get past every team and it would come back from a 3-1 lead against the Thunder. So we now go to the 2015-16 NBA Finals. Now, here's a big question that I have to ask you guys. So we all know what happened in real life. The Golden State Warriors blew a 3-1 lead, and it was just an ugly scene for the Warriors. But would the Warriors have blown a 3-1 lead even if they had Paul George? No. The Warriors would have won the NBA Finals and make the Cavaliers fall to them again. Now, this would change a lot. First off, the Warriors would end up not getting Kevin Durant because they had Paul George and they couldn't pay both of those players because they won a lot of money. And that would also mean the next season, when the Warriors won the finals, they would have had a three-peat, something that is very hard for a franchise to accomplish. It would have been insane if the Warriors drafted Paul George. And that's why I think that this could have changed everything. That is going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you all next time. I'm out.